he was touring the Spiritual Sky offices in Los Angeles. They were very modern and very, this was during the height of Spiritual Sky's success. It was a huge building. And Prabhupada was looking at everything, and he asked about some machine, and they were telling him. And he said, don't be extravagant in your purchase of machines. So that was a nice instruction. Later on, that machine was stolen somehow or other. So it had an effect on me because I remembered Prabhupada saying that, don't be extravagant. So he approved of using machines in Krishna's service, but not extravagantly. Otherwise, Krishna would take it away. And that happened in that case.
In 1973, I was made the president of Bury Place Temple in London. Just before that, the previous president had formed a organization called the Radha Krishna Guild, Radha Krishna Temple Guild, which was made up of congregational members who wanted to do some service. So the guild did things like buying gates for the deities. And once in a darshan in the manor, one of the ladies from this guild stood up and she started making some complaint in Prabhupada's room. So afterwards, Srila Prabhupada called me into his room and started chastising me. He said that actually we don't have, afterwards, Srila Prabhupada called me into his room and started to chastise me. He said that we only have one kind of membership, that's life membership. We don't require any other kind of membership like guild membership. Then he said that only properly qualified persons should be allowed to speak in the temple. And he kept repeating that point. He would have repeated it 4 or 5 times. Only the most qualified persons should be allowed to speak in the temple room.
Once, 1974 Rath Yatra, the temple president there had organized a special ceremony for Srila Prabhupada's pleasure. And the idea was that the temple presidents from the centers would all get together and they would have an auction. And they would auction off different services in the ceremony that they could offer to Srila Prabhupada, like bathing his feet with different substances. You know, honey and milk and yogurt, fanning him, and doing different things for him, and then the money that was collected would all be given to Srila Prabhupada as dakshina. So I just by chance, I was a household at the time, and we had received some money, some small inheritance, a few $1,000s. So I thought this was a good opportunity. So I had some money, and I bid it very high, and I won a lot of the different services. And the one I wanted the most was to bathe Srila Prabhupada's feet with the honey. So while I was, so we actually got to do that, and he agreed. So I was bathing his feet, washing his feet with the honey, and I was taking my time. I wanted to get my money's worth. And Prabhupada at one point looked down and said, hurry up, because he saw that I was... So I could understand that he was, it wasn't that he was enjoying someone bathing his feet and giving him so much respect and worship, but he did it as a service, and that we shouldn't try to, also we shouldn't try to enjoy the spiritual master, we should just do our duty. That's what I got out of that.
So during the time that Srila Prabhupada was in Los Angeles, I think this was in 1974, he was doing a lot of translation work at this time, and there was a typewriter downstairs in his apartment. He lived upstairs, and there was a typewriter right downstairs, and I was typing doing all the transcribing then, and he was translating so much that I was typing from morning till night, and he mentioned about how he was happy to hear the typewriter, the sound of the typewriter going. And that I was working so hard. And then one day he called me up to his room, and he took out this gold bangle, and he said this woman, this Indian woman, had given him this bangle, and he looked at it and he said, "It is solid gold." And he said, "I would like you to have it. You have been working so hard on my books." So I said, "Thank you, Srila Prabhupada."
Just in the beginning of '73, and he said that I'm very pleased to hear the good news of the traveling party in England, and I'm pleased to hear that the people of that country are interested in Krishna consciousness and they're taking our books. So you go on in this way, traveling to every town and village. Don't worry about your destination. Just go on preaching Krishna's message and distributing his books. Sometimes he said it must be very cold there and you mustn't be getting proper sleep or proper food, but because you've properly understood the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, therefore you've surpassed the feats of millions of yogis and transcendentalists and come to the topmost platform of surrendering to Krishna. So this is my challenge, that let anyone see how hard our devotees are working for Krishna and how they have surpassed the feats of all yogis and transcendentalists.
At the initiation ceremony of sannyas initiation, Brahmananda Vishnujan, Subal, and Gargamuni. One thing I remember very distinctly in the lecture, he told them, he said, taking sannyas doesn't mean that you will be free from sex desire. He says, but now you cannot act on it.
I said, well, what do I do when I need extra money? And Sudama goes, Srila Prabhupada, she does bake sales. And Prabhupada goes, no. And I said, I could pick guavas. And Srila Prabhupada goes, no, no, no. You are a woman, you have a child. You must not strain. You should not strain. I said, well, I like to distribute your books. Yes, you do that. There will be a profit. You keep that.
Once we had a program in Kensington Town Hall in London, and it was packed out. It was a wonderful reception for Srila Prabhupada. At the end of the program, one Christian asked a question, and Prabhupada asked Rabharinandan Swami to get up and answer that question. So Rabharinandan Maharaj answered him in a very convincing style, completely defeated him, and the whole audience erupted in applause. And I was sitting on the side of the stage, and I just remember seeing Srila Prabhupada turn round towards us, and his whole face lit up in such an effulgent smile. It just looked like the sun. He was so happy to see how his disciple had defeated this rascal so convincingly.
While we were in Berkeley, and Srila Prabhupada was there, Jayananda Prabhu one day asked me if I would like to go with him to see Srila Prabhupada. And I said, of course. So we walked over. It was, several blocks. And on the way, we saw some very big, beautiful roses, gorgeous roses. It was summertime. So Jayananda said, let's see if we can get those roses. So we went up to the door, and he knocked on the door, and he asked the lady, he said, I'm going to see my guru, we're going, can we take 2 roses? And she said, yes, of course. So we took these big, beautiful roses, and we went to see Srila Prabhupada, paid our obeisances, and gave him the rose. And it was a nice discussion. It was basically, the discussion was between Prabhupada and Jayananda. And then at one point, Prabhupada asked him, he said, we have many construction projects in India. We could use some help there. Would you like to go and help with the construction? And Jayananda Prabhu said, no, Srila Prabhupada, I'd prefer to stay here. I think, I'd prefer to stay here. And Prabhupada said, oh, okay, that's fine. And I remember thinking that, I would have said yes, because I could see that Prabhupada wanted it, but Jayananda didn't say yes, but Prabhupada respected his wish, and so I could understand that you know, Prabhupada had a lot of confidence in Jayananda's decisions about those types of things.